This is the solution for the exercise in Lesson 12. In this exercise, you're asked to create a project with a class called Customer, and it will have 4 public properties: first name, last name, title, and company name, and then accompanying private fields that will store the values for each of those properties. And also we'll add a single method called save, and basically all we're going to use with the save is just to display the values that were stored in the private fields from the use of the properties into a message box. Basically, let's go ahead and start this by going and creating a new project. We're going to call this Begin to 12EX, and we'll click OK. Now, to get us kick-started here, I'm just going to paste in some controls onto my form that will allow us to input the first name, last name, title, and company, and we have our btn save in order to fire off our save method on our new customer class. So here we have txt first name, txt last name, txt title, and txt company name. Additionally, I have 4 labels so that we can identify each of the fields. I'm just going to hit save here. Now, I also need to add a class to my project that I'm going to call Customer. So here we go. I'm going to select Add Class, and we'll name this Customer. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to just rip all this code out. I don't need a constructor here. We'll talk about constructors in the next lesson or two. We're going to create some private fields for each of the 4 values that we're going to store in our customer object. So here we go. String first name, string last name, string title, string company name, name. And now what I need to do is create 4 public properties that expose the values of each of these private member variables, or these private fields. So here we're going to go public string first name. Notice the difference in the naming convention. I'm going to go ahead and do get and my set. Here I'll do return first name, and here I'll do first name equals value. So I have to do this basically 3 more times. Whoops, I just realized that I made a little spelling mistake here. I forgot the end of line character, which is very easy to do, and is the source of much frustration if you can't figure out why your code is not working. And finally, for the company name. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now you recall that we had one other thing we needed to do within our class, and that was to create a public method called save that all it needed to do really is just display a message box. So here we go. Public void save. Now this is going to be the tricky point, you could have done this a number of different ways, and the way that I do it may not make a whole lot of sense now, but in the next couple of lessons we're going to talk about the .NET Framework and about the need for namespaces. Because this class by default does not import the namespace that we use for our message boxes, which is system.windows.forms, I'm going to have to type out that fully qualified domain name here. So I'm sorry if you got snagged on this, but you'll be one step ahead when we get to this topic later on. So I'm going to concatenate the first name, and I'm just going to go ahead and put some type of separator in there, just a dash. And I'll do these on separate lines so that it all stays within the visible area. Plus, it just is a good way to break things up visually. And I realize that I made a little mistake here. Alright, that should work. Okay? So I think I've got my customer class pretty much done. Obviously we'll need to test it here in just a moment. And now what I want to do is hook up my code in my form so that when you click the Save button, it'll take all the values from the text boxes and it'll put them in to the appropriate public properties of my customer object, and then we'll call the save method of that customer object. So here's what I'll do. And I'll just repeat this essentially 3 more times. Okay. And the final thing I need to do is call the save method. Since it's a void method, I'm not going to return anything, so all I need to do is save. Now I'm going to run the application, and hopefully it'll work. So Bob Tabor, programmer, learn Visual Studio.net. And I'm going to click save. And it seems to have worked. I've got all my properties concatenated together, separated only by a little dash. So I've just completed the exercise for lesson 12. I hope you got pretty close to this, and I hope that you learned a little bit by getting your hands dirty and working with fields and properties and methods. Thank you.